All right, everyone. Welcome back to another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video with Fat Phil. And today we're going to be talking about the Punishing One. I apologize. I took a few days off. Again, I've been kind of taking weekends off just to spend more time with the family. But I was trying to get this video out actually on Friday, but I got some news. As many of you know, I've been looking for a new job. So I got that news on Friday that I will be transitioning to a new position at a new company. I'm very excited. And so that kind of took up the time I was creating to start getting the ball rolling with my new company. And obviously, letting my boss know, who has been a mentor and like everything to me. I came to this company to follow my boss. So it was a really tough conversation, but he is very gracious and happy for me. So I want to give you guys that life update. Just sometimes I feel that goes missed on this channel. So thank you all. Let's give a shout out to the channel members. And they've known this for a while. These guys have been, here for me for a lot of this stuff. So thank you guys for your continued support. If you're ever interested, link down below along with a link to the Discord. Please guys, just join the Discord if nothing else. The Discord is awesome. There's so much good information there. A lot of really cool conversations happening. So thank you guys again for keeping the faith and keeping this community alive. Let's get in here. Let's talk about Punishing One. All right, folks. So before we get to the developer post, let's just kind of get into Fleet Arena here. And I'm going to show you just the impact Punishing One has kind of been having on my Fleet Arena. So we're definitely seeing some increased activity. We've got this guy here with a 5-star Punishing One. This player here is running the 7-star variant, but we'll get into his fleet here. And then this guy, although he has the Executrix lineup in here now, he did originally have his Punishing One fleet there. And then coming down, you're seeing a lot more players with Punishing Ones. And to be honest, some very high-star Punishing Ones kind of cropping up into some of these, accounts. And I think that is in many ways, it's a good sign that we are seeing Punishing One kind of having that impact on the game. Those guys, I don't know what they're doing. They should have Punishing One in. But I'm seeing, and I saw a lot of increased activity, particularly the first day it was launched. Like, everybody was running Punishing One. So it is definitely overperforming to their intentions. And if I'm being perfectly honest, I feel like we should have seen this coming. Like, I'm sorry, but when you design a fleet, think about like just going to design the Profundity. The Profundity was designed to beat Executor. And Executor was designed to beat everything else before it, right? So then you design Leviathan, which was designed to not only beat the Profundity, right? Because Profundity was designed to beat Executor. So Leviathan is going to beat Executor as well. So when you go and design the Punishing One, and your intention and your process is, hey, we're going to design this that it's going to be able to beat the Profundity fleet. Well, you did the exact same thing with the Leviathan, that you designed it with the thought process, let's beat Profundity. So it makes a lot of sense that Punishing One was going to come in and potentially contend with Leviathan because it was designed with the exact same goal in mind. So even though it goes about those in two different ways, it's having that same effect, that it's beating Leviathan because it was designed the same way Leviathan was, with the thought of let's beat Profundity. And it's also designed to do a lot of other things, which we'll talk about here in a second. And what I want to say, just flat out, this ship at the current time has made Executor the most valuable fleet in the game. This ship 100% has made Executor more valuable than Leviathan, because this not only stops counters of Profundity, but it stops the Negotiator, and it's even designed to stop TIE fighters, which was a big part of how the Chimera fleet with the TIE Defender was able to beat this. Reductions to evasion and critical chance, additional speeds, bonus protection. Like, there's a lot of things inside of this ship that have made it a much greater threat to the community, right? So right now, this has made Executor the most valuable because nothing has changed with Leviathan yet. All the other counters, the Negotiator, the Profundity, Executor counter has gotten even easier. You talk about the Empire counter to Leviathan. Like, those things are all still alive and well. Punishing One has kind of come in and said, hey, we're axing basically every off-meta counter to Executor, and you're going to have to either use the mirror match or your own Leviathan to beat this thing. So I want to get that here now. We will talk about some of the counters that I've seen and kind of where my fears are, but I do want to go to the developer post where they've come out and said, hey, this ship is overperforming, because I do think that is an important part of this. So here we are on the forums, CG Meathead, and he came in and said, we've examined the matchups of Executor versus Leviathan in Fleet Arena. While nearly all combinations of Executor fleets perform as expected against the Leviathan, losing, there is one particular fleet that is overperforming against a specific build of Leviathan fleets. Unfortunately, that Leviathan build is the best counter to a Leviathan mirror match. For those of you who don't know, that is the Sith Fighter variant where you run Sith Fighter, Fury class, and the Sith Bomber. Right? If you run those three, that's kind of the Leviathan best fleet up to this point. The Executor fleet that's starting Xanadu Blood, Razor Crest, and the Punishing One is demolishing that fleet. When considering our choices of courses of action, we're satisfied with how Punishing One is performing in all other battles. Due to this, we are not currently planning any action to adjust Punishing One directly. So right there, they're telling you, hey, we're happy with Punishing One beating Profundity, beating all these other things. We love the way it's operating, but we don't want it to beat the Leviathan. However, the counter to Punishing One in a Leviathan fleet is starting TIE Dagger out on the field. This defense has a win rate much more in line with our expectations. So I just want you to understand, like when they said, it's a little bit confusing, but this IE lose up here doesn't mean all the time, right? It means the win rate. Think about when you go into swago.gg and you look up counters, there's that win rate. That's what they're really referring to, that the win rate with Punishing One is too high right now and they want to change that. So don't think that this means it will never be able to beat Leviathan. It just means they're going to lower the win rate. But since TIE Dagger in the starting lineup is detrimental to a mirror match that Leviathans find themselves in frequently. So our plan is to make some buffs to TIE Dagger to make it the desired unit to bring in a Leviathan mirror match while still being the best counter for Executor. This way, Leviathan owners can still have the win rates they expect against other Leviathans and be the favorite against Executor/Punishing One fleets. As for when this change will be implemented, it is contingent on a lot of factors. Suffice it to say, it will make its way into the game at the earliest possible convenience. So, I'm just going to take a second here and say, rest in peace to Sith Fighter as the best starting lineup in Leviathan. You no longer are going to want to run this thing as the starter because it's getting countered too easily. So, I just want to take a minute and say to all of you who invested Relic 8s and Relic 9s in your Sith Assassin that I told you so, and that I need you all to go and take this L, okay? Take the L. Take the L. I told you all this was going to happen. I said, hey, just keep in mind that there's going to be something that comes into this game that's going to make Sith Fighter irrelevant, and you're going to have wasted those resources on something that's literally just there for the mirror match. Like, I am sorry, but suck it, okay? I told you all this was going to happen. I have no sympathy for anybody who's like, what am I supposed to do now? Like, I don't know. Like, this is what you get. This is what you deserve. And what's even funnier is that they're not even buffing, like, what I love is they're not buffing Sith Fighter. They're buffing TIE Dagger, which is a clear money-making scheme to say, hey, now you got to get this guy to Relic 9. Like, oh, that just makes my heart happy. I'm sorry. I want to rub it in everybody's face because I said this was going to happen. And I think it's a brilliant, like, if I'm honest, this is, it's hilarious. It's a brilliant way to, like, give the middle finger to everybody who did that Relic 9. I am such a dick. But, all that said, I'm very disappointed that Capital Games is going the route of, hey, we're going to buff TIE Dagger, we're going to make Leviathan even better, and we're going to keep Punishing One the same. Like, just for context, this would be the equivalent of when Darth Bane came into the game, and they're like, hey, we've seen the data of how good Darth Bane is, but we like that he's beating, we like the way he beats everything, except, what? We don't like the way he's beating Lord Vader, so we're going to be introducing a buff to, Royal Guard or Maul that is going, we're going to be introducing a buff to Maul that is going to reduce the win rate of Darth Bane against Lord Vader. Like, this is in essence what you're doing, is not only now have you, okay, we're going to be counteracting Darth Bane against Lord Vader, but by making that change to, I'm getting Maul, you're making him better in every other instance. But also, you're making every other counter that exists against Lord Vader tougher. And that's exactly what's going to happen with the Leviathan. That, like, this fleet is going to be even harder to beat with the Empire, harder to beat with Negotiator, harder to beat with whatever counter you were using, because TIE Dagger is going to get buffs to counteract Punishing One beating it. And what does Punishing One beat? Everything else. So this is going to have to be a significant buff, unless it's just like, if bounty hunters are present, this is an auto win. Like, you know what I mean? So I'm not a fan in that regard, that I think it's a cheap, they took the cop-out way. And honestly, the biggest middle finger they gave wasn't even to Sith Fighter. The biggest one they gave was to the Profundity. The Profundity is now an A-tier fleet. I think if you really looked at the fleets now, you have S-tier fleet of Leviathan, S-tier fleet of Executor, and then the A-tier of Profundity, and then Negotiator and Malevolence are now B-tier fleets. This has completely upset the fleet meta, because Profundity, Leviathan, and Executor, there used to be this parity amongst those capital ships, right? There used to be kind of this, hey, you know what? Like, all of you, Leviathan being the creme de la creme, but you can all beat each other with varying win rates. There's switch up your counters, maybe some some luck in terms of the Profundity battle, but overall, they all beat each other. Executor kind of saying, yeah, Profundity, you're not beating me anymore with that Punishing One. And that's a problem, right? That is a massive, that's a big problem for the Profundity, because Profundity was completely designed around the fact that I need to beat Executor. So its number one use is now out the door. Now, this just, what does this mean moving forward? So I think for me, I am going to completely change my offensive strategy. I probably will be bringing my Leviathan on offense, if I'm honest. And I'll probably set Executor and Profundity on defense. I think that's the change I'm going to make. I feel like I'm going to want my Leviathan to be able to handle Punishing One fleets until we find a good counter. Because I've seen some of the data where there are players who are using, the Empire fleet against this fleet here with 7 stars. The one thing you have to keep in mind with that battle is that, in this case right here, he has 4 reinforcement slots there, right? There's 4 reinforcement slots in this fleet, which means, right, and all of them are open. That means that there's a ship that isn't a bounty hunter. So this Executor fleet in this instance is not getting the benefit of the unique ability here, because it says at the start of battle, if Punishing One is deployed and all allies are bounty hunters, excluding the capital ship. So because there's an extra reinforcement here that's not a bounty hunter, this Punishing One fleet is not getting any of the unique stuff. So I've seen some of the counters, and I'm kind of wondering if what we've seen is people with a full fleet rather than taking out that one ship. There should only be 6 slots here and then an X, right? It'd look like this, right? There's an X that goes there to basically say, hey, this isn't a full fleet. So I am a little bit curious as to what that means for these counters. I'd be very hesitant on saying this is the counter that works, because we haven't seen, I'd say, enough data to know, are people in Fleet Arena putting this full, are they bringing a full batch of reinforcements? Because if you just go into any fight, right, if you go into any fight, it'll automatically add a reinforcement to your next one. If I went in with just these 2 ships and I go to do my next battle, it's going to automatically fill these up, right? It'll automatically fill them up. So, I do want to be very cautious with that. I at least want to give you guys that before you go and watch some of these videos and say that's the counter that's working. Make sure that they're not, having that reinforcement slot filled, because then they're not getting the full benefit of Punishing One. So, yeah, guys, listen, I don't know that Executor needed this much help, but I think this also means that there's something coming to the game, right? There's no way that they're not just going to go in and, in my mind, the way I look at this, there's something else that's going to come in. Whether it's another Rebel fleet, whatever is going to happen, there's something coming that is making this ship a necessity for the bounty hunters. That's just my own personal opinion. Again, I don't know that for certain, but I feel like that's the answer, that there's something coming that without Punishing One, the Leviathan or the Executor is just going to be useless after that. That there's something coming that is just going to be a big problem for. And the other thing I'll say that's really positive about this ship, just something that I want you all to bear in mind, with Punishing One now in the game, there are those 2 dark side fleet missions on Mustafar and Geonosis that are extremely challenging, and we've been struggling with them for a long time. And the one thing that Punishing One does is kind of acts the way Razor Crest does with the Ignoring Taunt and other things. And I'm really wondering if what its big purpose is going to be outside of PvE is that you're going to be able to use the Executor with 5 dark side ships and its, as reinforcements. And then you can go and use your Sith fleet on Corellia and Felucia, right? You can go use your Sith fleet there. And, you're going to get your win rates all the same. But now you're getting additional completions on those fleet missions, which is going to allow you to get more territory points and earn those stars faster. So that is something that I was wondering about, is what their game plan was here, is that they didn't like that a lot of the Executor fleet relied on Razor Crest to do certain things. Now that Punishing One is here and can kind of take that role, we can either, deploy Razor Crest, or we can go just not use it and go use this fleet as a dark side bounty hunter fleet on those planets to increase your ship rate success on those planets. So people who have it at 7-star, let me know if that's the case, because if so, that's a massive boost to the free-to-play community. So that's the spiel, guys. Let me know your thoughts down below. Like, subscribe, comment. I love you all. May the Force be with you, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, my friends.